Hello crafty friends and cross stitchers. This video is going to be a tutorial type of video on how to start your threads and end your threads in cross stitch. I'm going to be using perforated paper for this tutorial instead of Aida fabric or linen, just because the perforated paper has very visible holes in it and you will be able to see the floss easier in this. Our first example that we are going to do is with a single strand of floss. As most of you know, the DMC and all of those favorite flosses are going to be 6 strands, so this is going to just use one of those. All you're going to do is get one strand out of the 6 separated from the rest of the floss. So there's one strand. I'm just going to grab it and pull. So easy. There's our one strand, and here's 5 left of this color. What I usually do, and this is an extra little tidbit, whenever I am using part of a thing of floss, I'll wrap the rest around here. So that way I know that what's wrapped around the opposite direction is not 6 strands worth. That's just an extra little tidbit of info. When you first start a cross stitch, there will be no other threads already on your canvas or your fabric that you can start with. So how you do this is, let's say my first stitch is right here, and you're just going to pull that through. On the back side, you're going to hold a tail. See how I have a tail held? And then, let's say my stitches are going to go horizontal, so let me move that to where it is being held horizontal, like so. And on the front, you are going to go ahead and do your stitch. As you go along with your stitching, you want to make sure that on your back, your stitches, pull it back through, you want to make sure on the back that your stitches are going over that piece of thread each time. That is what is going to hold your thread in there. That's what's going to hold your floss in. It is secured. You can cut off your tail there. And we're just going to go back through. Here now is your 5 stitches, and we flip it over for the back. There's your 5 stitches on the back, and see how it goes around your tail, so that way your thread does not come loose and out, and you continue to stitch from here. But what I am going to do is tie off real quick by going through the backs of our stitches. Just put your needle through the back like so. And now you can cut off both of your tails if you'd like. There you have it. You can thread your needle by putting both strands through the needle and doing it the exact same way as we did the one strand, or an easier way, and that would be if you had 2 floss strands. An easier way is you take one very, very long strand of floss. For this tutorial I'll do a short strand, but you take one very, very long strand of floss like this, and you double it, so you fold it in half. That way on one side you have a loop, on the other side you have 2 ends. You're going to thread your needle with the 2 ends. Okay, so let's say that our stitch is starting here. You're going to pull it through, but not all the way through. Same as the last one, you want a little tail in the back. This time though, you're going to go back through the fabric to the back, which you have your loop on the back, as you can see. What you're going to do is just put your needle through that loop and pull. And that is the easiest way to start a floss that has 2 strands. And on your front you have your first half of your first stitch, and then we'll just continue stitching from there, and we don't need to worry about holding in a tail because there is no tail. We have our 5 stitches with 2 strands. You can see also the thickness of the blue with the 1 strand versus the thickness of the pink with the 2 strands. Your pattern should tell you how many strands go for each symbol to stitch. And in the back, we're just gonna do it the same way, where we put our needle through all 5 of the stitches, or however many stitches you have, and then just pull through and cut. We have it. 2 strands, starting with the loop method of starting your floss and ending by pulling it through stitches on the back of the fabric. Now we are going to do a start with 3 strands. This one I'm going to make a longer piece to show you. You can always, like I said, do the same method as we did on the blue one and hold the tail back behind it and stitch around it to make sure, while you have 3 strands of floss off of your 6. Or you can do 1 very long strand of floss and start it with a loop method. When I say long strand of floss, I don't mean just what I did, because I'm just doing 5 stitches. You would be doing more, probably. so you would want a much longer piece. So instead of folding it in half like we did with the 2 strand, like this, we are going to fold it into thirds. See there, we have 3. And we're going to bring them together. You will want one side or the other to have a loop and a tail. So I'm going to pull this tail a little bit so it's longer. There we go. Now we have a loop and a tail on this side, and that will be the side that we leave in the back of the fabric. So let me thread the needle with the other side. Now we have our needle threaded with our loop and our tail on the piece that's going to be on the back of our fabric. I'm going to zoom in again. Same as this one is kind of a combo of the first one and the second one, so you will have a tail like you did on the first one, as well as a loop like you did on the second one, and this is 3 strands total. So you're going to leave it out just like we did on the second one, and when you take your needle back through, you are going to put it through the loop in the back and go ahead and pull through. So there we have our first half of our first stitch and our loop backing. Now all we have is this one tail that we will hold and tuck in with the back of our stitches, just like we did on the 1 strand. Turn it over. With this perforated paper, I can see where the tail is in the back. You see it right there. Yeah. So in the back, I am making sure that my stitches go over, see there, over the tail, so that way automatically it tucks the tail in for me. And again, you can notice the difference between 1 strand and how thick those stitches are, 2 strands and how thick, and 3 strands and how thick those stitches are. On the back, this time I'm going to leave this so that I can show you a different way of doing the end. Alright, so let's say that this end was not long enough to be able to pull through the back of your 5 stitches. Let's say it was only this long. Our needle would not be able to tuck in to the back of those stitches, and our thread would still be in the eye of the needle up here. So what we're going to do is a different method of tying off our floss whenever it is too short. Take any other piece of floss, just one piece, that's all that you need. And you're going to thread your needle with that one piece of floss just like you were starting with the loop method. So you're going to put the two tail ends into your needle. It can be any color, this piece of floss, any color, because it's not going to be seen at all. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through your stitches in the back just like you would if this was long enough to do it on its own. You're going to go through your stitches in the back just like that, and your loop over here, you are only going to use that to grab on to your original floss. So let's pull that floss through the loop so that the loop is basically holding it. Sorry, trying to hold this still and do this is a task. There we go. So you can see there that my loop is going around this tail of the green. So all you're going to do is pull the rest of this through and it will bring your tail with it. Pull a little hard on this one. Sometimes help it along by doing like a scratching motion. See, there it comes. So that's what you can do if your tail is too short to go through the needle as well as the back of the threads. And we're going to clip it. There you are. Last but definitely not the least is our 4-strand floss start. So same thing as always, you could take out 4 strands of your floss and do it the exact same way that we did the blue one with the 1 strand by holding the tail in the back. Or what you can do is take out 2 strands and just like this loop method with the pink, we are going to double it by folding it in half, and now you have 4. Same thing as the 2 loop method. Your 4 loop method, you are going to thread your needle with the tails and have your loop remain on the back side. Also, same exact thing with the hot pink. We are going to put our needle through towards the back, turn it over, and as you come through on that first stitch, you're going to put your needle into the loop right there, and then just continue to pull. Nice and tight. And there you have your start of 4-strand stitches. And again, you can see the thickness between 1 strand, 2 strand, 3 strand, and at the bottom in red, 4 strands. On the back, this time I am going to put my needle a few stitches over, a few holes over, and pull it through to the front, and just leave it like that in order to do our last method of ending a thread. This last method of how to end a floss strand is mostly for if you are doing the parking method of stitching. Basically, I already know if I'm doing the parking method that I'm going to have stitches that are over here of different color or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and do those stitches by leaving the tail of the red out of the front. You don't have to worry about what it's getting tangled in or anything while you're doing other stitches around it. So I'm going to start this the same method as we did the first one. If you have different stitches already on your fabric that you can use, then this is the easiest and most advisable way to start a thread, is just by putting your needle through the back of stitches that you've already done and starting there. As you're stitching your other colors around what you have already done, automatically they are going to go over in the back whatever threads you have back there to end. So as you can see, let's say I have 3 right there of this color, and I have 2 a little bit further down of this color. So let's say I have 2 down here that come off of that. So let's say that's all that I have of this purple color. So I'm going to end my purple back here. On the back, you can see that just by doing those purple stitches around where my tail was for the red will tie off the red. I'm just going to go through a few stitches on the back with my purple to tie that one off. We'll cut it. We're done with that color, let's say. So now your tail of the red is also tied off with the purple. And so now on the very front, you can cut that one, or if it's still some length left on it in the back, you can cut that as close as you can without hitting the purple stitch or any stitches that are right around it. And then on the back, just scratch it a little bit so it doesn't poke through the front. If you are parking, this is the method that a lot of people use in order to tie off their stitches without having to go back through all that they've done on the back. Now, stitchers, you have been shown 5 different ways to start your thread. You've been shown the way to hold the tail in the back and then cover it up, the loop method, the loop and tail method mixed together with the 3-strand, and with the 4-strand it's the double loop method. And you've also been shown how to start a strand by using the other stitches that are already done around it. As well as that, you have been shown 3 different ways to end a strand. You have been shown to put your needle through the back with the tail and then cut it off, as we did with the blue and the pink. You have been shown how to take a smaller tail that is too short to go through with your needle by using another piece of thread to pull it through, like we did on the green. And you have been shown the method that is most commonly used with parking, as to put your tail up through the front of the fabric and then use your other stitches around it to tie in that tail. As always, thank you so much for watching this little tutorial video on cross stitch. There are other videos on helpful cross stitch things, organization, as well as a plethora of my floss tube videos. If you are interested in that, please subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button on my YouTube channel and or the bell so that you can get notified whenever I post future videos. Please follow me on Instagram as well at Stacy Noel CP. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and happy stitching!